Hey, where you from? I think you might have ended up on the wrong side of town. Watch you go and grab your gun. My feet will hit the pavement, I ain't looking, but I feel it countdown.
Alright folks, welcome to episode 2 of Building Boxes. Today we are looking at the roof of the truck. If you don't remember from last time, we had a full ceiling. That's gone now. And you are looking at the bare roofline of this truck. In case you didn't know how these things are constructed, it's a thick sheet of aluminum that is sealed with silicone to the body of the truck, and that silicone can degrade over time. So what we're doing is we're going through the entire inside here with a die-core lap sealant to waterproof everything from the inside. And in a separate day, I went through on the entire outside of the roof line and did the same thing. So we have a complete seal inside and out, making sure that there's not ever going to be any water coming through this roof. And it took a while to get it to this point. There was about 4 or 5 days that I did not film because I was in a full Tyvek suit with respirator and super gnarly safety goggles and duct taped gloves to my wrists and all this stuff. Let me tell you, fiberglass is not something you ever want to deal with. When we got the truck, it had a ceiling in it, and I took a peek underneath the low voltage electronics, which I knew I wasn't going to use anyway and needed replacing, and I saw some water damage to that insulation, and I knew the entire ceiling had to come out and the entire roof line had to be waterproofed. So I went ahead and immediately did that. It was a nightmare. Do not work with fiberglass if you can ever avoid it. But here you can see all of the old holes are nice and sealed up. There's still a little bit of light coming through because die-core is a white colored sealant. I did go through a couple days later and I re-waterproofed everything with more die-core on some of those spots where you could see light coming through still, and made sure it was really, really nice and watertight. And unfortunately, I had to take a couple days hiatus to go do some work stuff. I work in the music industry, and I had a whole bunch of shows and festivals and stuff that I had to go and deal with. Alrighty folks, so it's been a few days since anybody has seen anything. As I'm sure you can see, we've got insulation and we've got a floor. So I was lying to you right there. We did not have a floor. In case you didn't notice, it was so creaky and making so much noise. I was gonna go fucking nuts if that was my floor. And I didn't realize at the time, but with this material I'm using for insulation, it's called foamular, it makes a lot of noise if it gets rubbed on or compressed. So what I had done is I used 1.5 inch trusses on the floor, and I used 1.5 inch thick foamular, thinking that, you know, the weight of the floorboards flexing would just press down on the foamular, no big deal. But it made so much noise. I had to take the entire thing apart. And basically, what I did is I got so frustrated that I decided to bust out the angle grinder and take care of a couple bolts that were in my way and just being irritated because I was so frustrated about having to take this whole floor out all over again. But it needed to be done. So I knew what I had to do was take the entire floor out, reframe it, and make it 3.5 inches so that I would have adequate headspace for the foamular and the floorboards to not be touching. And I did that. And then I tested with a sheet of foamular. You can see it right there. And it was still making noise with me just walking on the 2x4s. So I did a little bit of research, and I found some 4mm thick foam underlayment material, and it was surprisingly expensive, like $60 a roll or something. It's a tiny little roll like that, so I ended up having to use 2 of them. But I got this foam underlayment material and took everything apart again. Prayed that if I actually put it all back together with this foam underlayment, it would not be horribly creaky and driving me insane. And luckily, that was the scenario. It did not make any noise at all. And you can see what I did here is I was starting from the back anyway, or from the front rather. So I just put some foam underlayment down and gave it a test before I actually completely reinstalled everything, just to make sure that I wasn't going to go completely insane. And that's what you can see me doing here, is just putting in the insulation panels on a piece of the underlayment, walking on it a whole bunch, and deciding if it was going to be adequate. And it sounded good. So I went ahead and laid down foam underlayment on the rest of the subfloor between the original box truck floor and the bottom of those 2x4s. And then I refilled it with the foamular, and thankfully it made no noise. And I decided, I've got an extra 1.5 inches, or actually, 2 inches of headspace in there. So I got a 1-inch foamular board to go on top of my original 1.5-inch board, and I just used little panels of the underlayment material to go in between each of the foamular boards and kill off any noise. And that works like a treat. My new subfloor is completely silent, and I'm very, very happy with it. Alright folks, check it out. Disregard the mess up there. That's just where I'm keeping things off the floor while I'm working on the floor. I'll clean that up after I put it all back together. But yeah, here we are. This is the nice, quiet floor. You can hear when I walk on these trusses, as they're called. There's a little bit of sound. It's almost none. Realistically, I'm willing to take that for the extra R5 of insulation that I got out of this. And once I get these floorboards on, I don't think you're going to hear that at all, to be honest. So that's our next step. Reassemble the floorboards. Listen for yourself. Perfect. All right, folks. So here we are. We've made a lot of headway. This floor is pretty much complete. I just need to get one more little piece of this crap. I wasn't gonna buy a full board of this stuff, but I'm sure they have a scrap over there, a broken board or whatever that they'll give me for free. So fill this little bit in, and then I'm going to start taping out the layouts. I got most of this bed area cleaned up already. I'm using this as my like workbench, clearly. So I just keep my tools up there, and I've got these little 2x4s in here already for structural support for the bed, and it keeps them from sliding around. It gives me 3 little compartments. So I got that all cleaned up. I need to just bring a couple more things from here into my garage, like this roll of underlayment and my shop vac, and then I can start taping things out and see what it all looks like.